Listen to the baby monitor tonight. When it crackles to life at 3 a.m., feel the immediate, irrational spike of panic in your chest. The sudden rush of adrenaline, you wake up instantly, heart pounding, entirely alert. We blame modern life for parental burnout. We think our constant, suffocating anxiety means we are failing at raising our children. We think it is a modern psychological disorder, but you are not failing. You are executing a 3 million-year-old program. For decades, we told ourselves a comforting lie about ancient families. We imagined early humans living in a primitive Eden, a peaceful, natural setting where children played in the tall grass while the tribe looked on with gentle smiles. We imagined that our modern stress is an unnatural byproduct of alarms, schedules, and screens. But the fossil record tells a terrifyingly different story. If you rewind the clock 300,000 years, the world was a gauntlet of apex predators. And the human infant was, and still is, the most helpless creature on planet Earth. A baby horse can run within hours of being born. A human baby cannot even lift its own head for months. It is entirely, utterly defenseless, and it is incredibly loud. Have you ever wondered why human babies scream with such a piercing, high-pitched frequency? In a modern nursery, it is exhausting, but in a pitch-black, ancient forest, it was a biological siren. Imagine you are sleeping on the bare earth. The campfire has died down to glowing embers. Just beyond the light, in the absolute darkness, are hyenas, cave lions, and rival bands of humans. Suddenly, your infant starts to scream. That sound wasn't just annoying, it was a death sentence. A crying baby was a beacon that told everything in a 5-mile radius exactly where you were and exactly how vulnerable you were. The intense evolutionary pressure on ancient parents was unimaginable. You had to quiet the child instantly. There was no letting them cry it out. If they cried, the predators came. If the predators came, the camp died. This is why the sound of a crying baby physically hurts you today. It is designed to bypass your logical brain and trigger your deepest survival instincts. Your modern house is locked and safe, but your nervous system doesn't know that. When you hear that cry, your biology thinks you are still in the dark, surrounded by yellow eyes in the tall grass. But this is where the reality of ancient parenting gets even darker, because keeping them quiet was only the first impossible hurdle. The second was keeping them fed. Today, we view childhood as a sacred, protected era of innocence, a time for play, shelter, and carefree learning. But for 99% of human history, the concept of childhood simply did not exist. A human child is a massive metabolic drain. They consume a staggering amount of calories to fuel their rapidly growing brains, but for the first few years, they contribute absolutely nothing. In a world where starvation was a constant shadow, a child was an immense burden. So they were not sheltered. They were put to work. As soon as a child could walk steadily, they were integrated into the survival machine. By age 4, they were expected to forage, identifying which roots were edible and which would stop their heart. By age 7, they were tracking animals and butchering small game. They saw death, disease, and raw, dripping meat on a daily basis. They were not shielded from the brutality of the world because ignorance meant death. There were no teenagers. There was no adolescence. You were either a burden or you were a surviving, contributing member of the camp. So why are modern parents so uniquely exhausted? If our ancestors survived this brutal reality, why does raising a child in a safe, climate-controlled house feel so utterly overwhelming? The answer is hiding in the architecture of your neighborhood. For 300,000 years, a child was never raised by just 2 people. The nuclear family, a mother and father isolated in a wooden box, is a bizarre modern anomaly. In the ancient world, you lived in a band of 40 people. The child belonged to the campfire. They had half a dozen mothers who would nurse them, watch them, and carry them. They had a dozen fathers who protected them. The tribe was the operating system. The burden of hypervigilance, of gathering food, of constant teaching was divided among dozens of adults. Look at how we live today. We severed those ancient ties. We retreated behind locked doors, drew property lines, and placed the entire, crushing, evolutionary weight of child rearing onto 1 or 2 exhausted people. We isolated ourselves. We are trying to run a program designed for a supercomputer on a single microchip. When you feel like you are failing, when you are burning out from the constant, low-level hum of anxiety about your child's safety, you have to realize something profound. That anxiety is not a weakness. It is the very reason you exist. Your ancestors were the ones who stayed awake. They were the ones who panicked. They were the ones who anticipated every single fatal threat in the dark. The relaxed, carefree parents of the ancient world did not pass on their genes. Their children were eaten. We are the descendants of the paranoid. When you look at your child today, you are not looking at a fragile modern thing. You are looking at an organism forged in blood, starvation, and ice. And the exact same nervous system that kept them alive in the harsh deserts of antiquity is sitting quietly inside you. We built a safe, modern cage, but we are still the same wild, terrified animals standing guard in the dark.